Youth Mentorship in Crisis. Who's going to reach the kids nobody else will? You are listening to Voice of Sovereignty, the podcast that refuses to let education become a spectator sport. I am speaking for Dr. Jean Constant. And today, we are going to talk about something that does not make headlines the way it should, even though it may be the single most important factor in whether a young person makes it or does not. We are talking about mentorship, specifically the collapse of mentorship in American communities, and what it is going to cost us if we do not reverse it. Segment 1. The numbers that should alarm everyone. Let me give you some numbers. According to Mentor, the national mentoring organization, more than 16 million young people in the United States are growing up without a mentor, without a single consistent adult in their life outside their immediate family who takes a genuine interest in their future. 16 million. Research from the Annie E. Casey Foundation tells us that young people without mentors are 55% more likely to skip school, 81% more likely to use drugs or alcohol regularly, and significantly more likely to cycle through the juvenile justice system. Now, here is where it gets personal for him. Gene grew up with gaps in his own education. He took a GED, went to community college, got inducted into Phi Theta Kappa, and eventually earned his doctorate. But he would be honest with you. There were people along the way who saw something in him and said so. That changed the trajectory of his life. What happens to the millions of kids where nobody ever says that, where nobody ever shows up? Segment 2, the mentor drought, why it's getting worse. Here's what the crisis actually looks like on the ground. The pipeline of natural mentors, the coaches, the shop teachers, and the retired professionals who once volunteered in their communities has been quietly drying up for decades. Schools have cut vocational programs. Civic organizations have shrunk. The intergenerational neighborhoods where a 60-year-old retired tradesman and a 15-year-old kid might actually cross paths have been replaced by age-segregated digital bubbles. Young men, in particular, are in trouble. The data on disengaged young males, not in school, not in the workforce, not connected to any institution, is staggering. We are producing a generation of boys who have no older man in their life who shows up consistently and says, "Here is how the world works. Here is what competence looks like. Here is what you are capable of." And the solution the system usually offers? Another program, another worksheet, another standardized test. That is not mentorship. That is management. Segment 3. What real mentorship does. Let me tell you what mentorship actually accomplishes, because it is not just inspiration. A mentor is a reality translator. They take the gap between where a young person is and where they could be, and they make it feel crossable. Not by handing anything over, but by walking alongside. Research from Harvard shows that the single strongest predictor of upward mobility for low-income children is not school quality, not neighborhood safety, and not even family income. It is the presence of adults outside the family who build relationships with young people across economic lines. Think about that. The most powerful anti-poverty tool available is not a government program. It is a person, a willing, experienced, consistent person who gives a young being what Nobel laureates Banerjee and Duflo documented in their research on poverty. The difference between knowing something in a classroom and being able to apply it in life. That is the gap mentorship closes. Not information. Application, not knowledge, wisdom. Segment 4, GSU's response, civilization builders. At Global Sovereign University, we did not just study this crisis. We built a response to it. It is called civilization builders. The premise is simple. We have two underutilized populations in this country. We have retired professionals, men and women who spent decades in the trades, in business, in education, and in the military, who have knowledge that will die with them if no one captures it. And we have young people who are starving for exactly that kind of real-world knowledge and do not know where to find it. Civilization Builders brings those two groups together. It is not a tutoring program. It is not a homework helpline. It is a structured mentorship pipeline built around actual competence. Our mentors teach what they know. Our learners earn verified credentials through our honest transcript system. Not grades, not seat time, but demonstrated ability. Because here is what I believe. Every retired electrician, who can teach a young person to wire a circuit safely is worth more to civilization than 100 workforce development reports. Every retired business person who can show a young entrepreneur how to read a balance sheet is doing God's work. Every veteran who can teach discipline, resilience, and mission focus to a teenager who has never had either, that veteran is building civilization, one young life at a time. That is why we called it what we called it. This is not remediation. This is construction. Segment 5, the call. So here's what I am asking today. If you are a retired professional in any field, any trade, any discipline, and you have knowledge that a young person could use, GSU wants to talk to you. You do not need a teaching certificate. You need a lifetime of competence and the willingness to pass it on. If you are a young person listening to this, or you know one, someone who is falling through the cracks, someone who is smart but stuck, someone who needs a person more than they need a program, point them to us. Our education is free. Our games are free. Our Geno Tutor is available around the clock. And Civilization Builders is being built for exactly the young person you are thinking of right now. We are not waiting for the system to fix this. We are building around the system. That is what sovereign education means. Youth mentorship is in crisis, but crises are invitations. They're invitations to the people who refuse to wait for someone else to show up. This is Voice of Sovereignty. And we are building a bridge to freedom through education, not handouts. Visit us at globalsovereignuniversity.org. Play a game, read a book, join the mission.